Welcome to folks on OneSpotMedia.com.
Up first this evening, the Child Protection Services and the St. Catherine North Police are this evening investigating an alleged case of child neglect and endangerment brought to their attention by residents in a Spanish Town community.
Neighbors say a 4-year-old boy is regularly left to fend for himself for days. This morning, they call for the authorities to intervene.
The parents of the child are now being sought. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
He is only 4 years old, happy to be let out of this room where neighbors say he spends most nights alone with no food or parental protection. They describe it as a heart-rending situation they are tired of witnessing.
They need to take you. Enough is enough.
They say this apparent neglect has been happening for 3 years, the child's mother leaving him locked inside for several days. It's understood the child has had a disorder from birth.
He has Down syndrome. He can't do anything at all for himself, and he's been left alone at this premises over and over and over. Now, he's here for 2 days all by himself. He doesn't even eat. That's as bad as it is.
When he gets hungry, community members give him meals. On Thursday, they call the police. This is not the first time help has been sought from the authorities.
CDA came here already. What I was told to take him, and the mother come and the grandmother of the child came over and so forth and say, oh, they enough to take him and blah, 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 whatever. And they go away and leave him. Police came here about a month ago. Resident called police again to take him. When the police came, they said they cannot take him because they have nowhere to put him. They are to call CDA. We've been calling CDA since then, unsuccessful.
On Thursday, the police took the boy. Neither his parents or relatives were present at the time. In the meantime, community members expressed relief that he will now be given some care.
Very good, very good.
Very good. I'm glad saying guns. We're glad. Go on with him, officer. Here's this been going on, officer. This little infant alone. Nights upon nights, hungry, kill him. Take him now.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
In the meantime, when TVJ News contacted the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, we were told that an investigation was still being conducted in the matter. The agency, however, confirmed that the child is currently in state care and the next course of action will be determined based on a full report from investigators. They were unable to confirm if the boy's parents or relatives have been contacted.
The police are in the line of fire this evening as reports resurface that guns may have been planted on persons involved in confrontations with the lawmen. The issue was raised today at a quarterly press briefing by the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm reports.
At the end of the shooting, a man was found suffering from gunshot wounds. 2 firearms were recovered. I paraphrase the section of a typical police report after a confrontation. Sometimes witnesses even say that the guns recovered were planted by the cops, and Indicom has uncovered inconsistencies which may back up the claims. For example,
a firearm being recovered at a scene which had been previously in possession of the police at an earlier incident when it had been seized. 2 incidents where guns have been recovered from a fatal shooting when those weapons have already been submitted to the police laboratory in respect of a previous shooting, one as recently as 2018. And in those matters, of course, there are witnesses who claim an alleged planting.
In addition, a gun reportedly found on a dead man was the same weapon seized by the police months ago and recorded to be in the cops' possession.
Ballistic examination of a police MP5 weapon held within a police armoury revealed that casings which matched that police weapon also matched casings found at 2 civilian murders from a previous time. During a search of police premises, 2 weapons were found, revolvers, which were recorded as being unaccounted for. Another weapon was found for which there was no record at all in the station, but was in a police drawer.
So Indicom wants the Jamaica Constabulary Force to put in strategies to control recovered guns so they do not return to the streets. And when a gun is recovered, it should be immediately entered into a database.
Recovered guns should be taken to the forensic laboratory on the first available opportunity. And we would recommend that these recovered firearms not be returned to the investigating officer.
The oversight body is also recommending regular checks to ensure police personnel comply with policies about recovered weapons. There's also a proposal to make changes to the Firearms Act.
to make it clear that a firearm ordinarily need not be tendered in court. The ballistic certificate issued by the lab could be sufficient proof unless there is good reason for the firearm to be tendered in court on application.
Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes today launched the new Customer Service Charter for courts, but in doing so, he reminded judges that high standards must be upheld and that their performance will not go unnoticed. Here's TVJ's Kirk Wright with that report.
On Thursday, Chief Justice Brian Sykes told judges that a quality standard manual that was conceptualized 7 years ago will finally be put into effect. He launched the Customer Service Charter and says he expects that judges will abide by it. Justice Sykes says judges will be required to acquaint themselves with the Customer Service Charter and with the stated time standard.
For example, a 7-day response time to written communication. The phone should be answered within or not more than 3 rings. That is actually stated in the charter.
While reminding court staff and judges why it's important to deliver quality service to their customers, Chief Justice Sykes told them their performance will be measured.
As we in the judiciary assert our independence of the other branches of government, so too we must be equally strident in asserting our commitment to the motto of the court, which is a timely delivery of a high standard of justice for all.
And this message from him specifically to parish and senior parish judges.
What is being said is that all parish courts must now embrace that the manner of service delivery is just as important as the delivery of the actual judgment itself. So if the judgment is legally sound and the person's happy with the result, but it is delivered in a manner that is displeasing to them, then we would have fallen short.
Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
Members of the Insurance Association of Jamaica, IAJ, are reporting a low participation in the sector. Speaking on this week's edition of the RJR News Forum, it was revealed that about 70% of Jamaicans are without life insurance. The pension sector has remained stable, but those figures are extremely low. TVJ's Anthony Lugg reports.
Insurance, an arrangement which provides protection against an unexpected eventuality, which gives the insured some form of assurance. It's important, but it's seen as one of those things that's better to have and not need than to need and not have. Here in Jamaica, data show that most persons don't have life insurance or a pension scheme set up. Only 29% of the workforce has life insurance, says Vernon James, who's the vice president of that sector at the Insurance Association of Jamaica, a situation he deems unfortunate.
The time to buy that is when you're healthy. So we do believe that there is significant scope to improve the penetration, and it is a necessary activity that has to happen in the country for people to be secure from their health services.
The figures for the pension sector are even more alarming.
Less than 10% of the workforce are in an approved pension arrangement. And that's without government. When you added the government scheme into it now, it's still about 15 to 17%, somewhere hovering around there.
But why aren't Jamaicans taking these long-term investments seriously?
People don't view life insurance as a priority. They have other things that they consider most pressing.
People will not think that, okay, with this dollar that I have, what do I use it to do? Do I use it to put aside for my ultimate retirement? Or tell you what, wait until I'm in the 50s. The problem is, by the time you reach that stage, it's really too late.
And while that theory might be true, many argue that insurance companies should be doing more to get Jamaicans involved.
Things are changing so fast that what we view as the most likely outcome in reality isn't necessarily the case.
That the world of work is changing.
It's changing totally. Yeah. So one of the things that we cannot do is say to everybody who we are speaking to that our assumption of what will take place is your reality, because time has proven that to be wrong. So there is a lot of middle ground that needs to be had in terms of crafting the message, communicating the message, and listening and recognizing the rapid change that's taking place in the environment.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
In the meantime, Vice President for General Insurance at the IHA, Mark Thompson, believes Jamaicans must take a different approach when it comes to general insurance.
Insurance is really not something that everybody put it as it's something you have to have for a loan. It's really a financial planning tool. Can you afford to lose your house? Can you afford to lose your content? Right? Can you afford to lose that special watch that you purchase? Right? If the answer is no, then you need insurance.
Our top story this evening, the police search for parents of a 4-year-old as neighbors tell the tale of neglect the child faces. Still ahead, no apology. Speaker and opposition continue to clash in Parliament. And in business news, Energy Minister considers increasing the ethanol in fuel. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, continuing the news. The conduct of parliamentarians was again in the spotlight following yesterday's sitting of the lower house. In his attempt to maintain order, one opposition member questioned the Speaker's state of mind, drawing the ire of government members. TVJ's Janella Precious reports.
Back at it again.
Members, we are on our way, making the headlines that we have returned to our old ways which we apologized for last week. And I am not going to be a party to that.
And from very early during the question and answer segment, it appeared that the lower house would descend into chaos, mirroring what went down on April 24. The Speaker, however, would have none of it. The situation at the Cornwall Regional Hospital was again at the center of the brouhaha. Not satisfied with responses to questions posed, opposition spokesman on health Dr. Dayton Campbell pressed Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton for details of a meeting last year involving the former Chief Medical Officer Dr. Winston Delahaye. It was to discuss a recommendation to close the main building. The minister explained it was decided not to at that time. Dr. Campbell read further from correspondence he says came from the former CMO.
Once an operation is taking place in the middle of the patient on the operating theatre open, that you have particulate matter falling down into the wound of the person. Operating theatres, Mr. Speaker, are sterile. It goes on to say, I think at this point we must seek alternate theatre space to allow for at least a week closure of all operating theatres at Cornwall Regional to facilitate the necessary repairs so the operating theatre space is to be safe. Though we have discussed this before, I think we need to proceed to one or two alternatives.
The Speaker stopped him in his tracks, arguing that he was breaking standing order rules as he was not asking questions relating to the responses provided by Dr. Tufton.
We are trying here to establish the premise under which a minister of government, having been informed by technocrats that he should close a facility because there are allergens, carcinogens and toxogens in a building, went against that advice. I am showing you here that there was no change of mind of the chief medical officer, because up until November they were still having challenges and he was still complaining vociferously about the actions to be taken. How is that departing from what the questions are seeking to establish in this house? It may mean, sir, that you have totally lost your bearings as to what your role as Speaker of the House ought to be in maintaining order and seeking for the truth to be said in this house.
I have never heard that level of rudeness in respect of an address to the Speaker of this honorable House. You have not apologized. And I'm upset about it. You have not apologized.
No, man, I withdrew the statement.
And after nearly 2 hours,
the House stands adjourned.
Janella Precious, TVJ News.
Still in Parliament, a promise from Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie that all fire stations will be equipped with a working fire truck. He made the assertion in his contribution to the sectoral debate yesterday. TVJ's Vashon Brown reports on the highlights of the minister's presentation.
A fire brigade plagued by resource constraints, but Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie is promising improvements in the months ahead. For one, he says every fire station will have a working fire truck by the end of this calendar year. 6 trucks were purchased last year and $232.6 million will be spent this year to purchase 4 more, as well as 2 ambulances and 2 command vehicles.
I want to thank the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, who is currently securing an additional 6 trucks. Yes. And the Ministry of Health will be providing 2 ambulances. Mr. Speaker, these investments in the rolling stock of the agency of the Jamaica Fire Brigade has increased the fleets of trucks to 16.
A promise too from the minister that new fire stations will be built.
After significant delay, and I know some of you are going to say we heard it before, but finally, the design has been completed. Yes. The tender is going out shortly for the construction of the 3 fire stations in Port Maria, Montego Bay, and Yallas, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Mackenzie also revealed that 2 fireboats worth over $200 million have been commissioned to serve the corporate area and Western Jamaica. Turning to the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, the minister noted that the financial reports are up to date.
Mr. Speaker, I am a proud minister today because I am going to be holding up in this honorable house for the first time the audited reports on all the entities of the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
But while the financial fortunes of the agency are improving, he says it continues to grapple with poor garbage collection, and so more garbage trucks will be purchased this financial year.
The agency will also be receiving from GSF through the World Bank Integrated Community Development Project an additional 3 trucks, Mr. Speaker. This will bring the total of new trucks within the financial year to an unprecedented investment of over 43, the first in the history of the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
Issues and challenges affecting members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force were the main contentions brought to the National Security Minister and the Police Commissioner as the Jamaica Police Federation Chairman addressed the group's 75th Annual Joint Central Conferences in Ocho Rios, St. Anne this week. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
A slew of burning issues for Federation Chairman Sergeant Cecil McCullough as he addressed Federation members as well as the heads of the national security portfolio. By his assessment, the members are facing hell while on the job. Firstly, he believes members who are being investigated for varying issues are being punished unjustly. He says the length of time for the investigation and the administrative process leaves the cop in financial problems for months.
Remember now that this member is on suspension and he applies for a job. And the letter from admin states that this member is on suspension for a case of murder. So he's not able to get a job. And this member might not even have a private firearm. So he's not able to find creative ways legally at least to go out there and earn something. Come on, members. These are the realities.
Financial challenges aside, there is one other major issue of contention: Indicom. Despite the recent court ruling that the entity has no power to prosecute the police, Sergeant McCullough notes that the fact that the entity is filing an appeal means the associated challenges, including financial issues, continue. He also listed the lack of resources as a recurring challenge.
And respectfully, Minister, I give you one message to the Prime Minister, or Honorable Prime Minister and Cabinet of this country, just to inform the Minister, you can't run champion organization for back those budget.
For the most part, Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang and Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson acknowledged the issues highlighted.
There is no organization that is so pervasive, that is everywhere, that the things that the organization does affects such a broad cross-section of the society that interacts at every level and in every place within the country. And so if we look at the fortunes of the country, and that is what I'm very interested in, and the fortunes of the JCF, we need to see both of them moving together.
Dr. Chang, however, noted that investments are being made in the force, particularly in relation to working environments at police stations. But results continue to be his major sticking point.
The public is sensitive to murder and we have to bring it down. We can't have Jamaicans killing 1,000 plus Jamaicans a year. But in many ways, murder is symptomatic of deeper problems in society which we have to deal with. Some of them policing, some of them non-policing. The government have to review, undertake how to deal with them. But among them, that is policing, is just sheer public disorder.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
The public has been raising questions and now Prime Minister Andrew Holness has responded. On Wednesday, an official launch of a competition for the design of the Houses of Parliament, which will be relocated to National Heroes Park. Jamaican architects will have the opportunity to design the new Parliament building as part of a mega development plan the Prime Minister says will benefit Heroes Park and the nation at large. TVJ's Krista Campbell has details.
It will take a while for construction to begin at the National Heroes Circle, but Prime Minister Andrew Holness beamed that this will be the furthest any government has reached to making reality that dream he discovered extending from the 1950s when national hero Norman Manley was then the country's premier.
After 50 years, we're still having a dream. We have to wake up now and get something done.
From Kingston Racecourse to the National Heroes Park and soon another transformation to the Houses of Parliament. All eyes are now on these estimated 52 acres of land as Prime Minister Andrew Holness insists he'll be the one to achieve the decades-old plan to construct a proper home right here for the nation's Parliament. The Prime Minister assures all opinions will be considered and the developments will be done in a bipartisan and multi-sectoral manner. As for public discourse on the plans, he insists it will not be a waste of money and noted that it will be the first building made specifically for the Parliament, as Gordon House was originally built to house the then Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation.
Aside from the issue of insufficient space, lack of adequate parking, and facilities to interact and engage with the public, the building itself lacks the stature and functionality of a modern parliament.
Senator Tom Tavares Finson noted that Premier Norman Manley had gazetted that a section of Heroes Park be used for not only Parliament but also administrative buildings. So the plan is for another 300 acres of surrounding lands to be used to house all the government ministries in one central location. Prime Minister Holness addressed the concerns for residents and businesses in the area.
There will be 5,000 homes when this project is done around this area. And not homes exclusive for the rich. There will be homes of all grades and classes and income bands.
He says with the addition of significant commercial space, the area will also attract more tourists, and he maintained the green space will be kept for Jamaicans to continue enjoying recreational activities. And with the transition, a charge to parliamentarians.
We cannot carry the Gordon House behavior to the new parliament.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
There was a standoff today between the police and several shop owners who operate within the Spanish Town bus park. The shop owners staged a protest when they arrived for work and discovered several gates closed. TVJ's Anthony Lugg has that story.
These padlocks on the 5 pedestrian gates of the Spanish Town bus park spawned a protest on Thursday morning. Not knowing why and who locked the gates, shop owners who operate inside the bus park took to the streets, voicing their discontent.
It can't work for my rent money, can't work. They're not busy about the tenant them.
We're not moving until we hear from someone. Justice, we're not moving.
The shop owners argue that the closure is an inconvenience to customers.
Them have to walk way around, one way in and one way out, and that is madness. Why they couldn't just come around at the side here so, and come back to the next side? They cannot do that. They have to take way around here so, and go back, come in and then come back way around. That is stupidness.
Let me feel bad for no say me come for the business, and when me come no entrance coming at the inside of the store. So that's a foolishness.
That wasn't the only action taken. The protesters insisted that if the locks weren't removed, no public passenger vehicles would be allowed to access the bus park.
We don't call it none to the him, not call it none because we are blocked the entrance.
Shortly after, enforcement arrived. A sledgehammer had to be used, but the shop owners would not have it. So why were the pedestrian gates locked?
We realized that the bus park was porous, the amount of entrance, exit, and that's why you find so many criminal activities taking place in the park. So in order to have better control, it was agreed that we will reduce some of those access points.
The shop owners also say they weren't informed, but the police rubbished those claims.
It was not anything done in secret, sir, because Mr. Lake has a responsibility. Those persons operate in a space, and that is something we asked to be communicated. It was not anything that we just got up overnight and did. So these people want the lawlessness in the space, and we are not going to allow it.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
Time now for the responses from our friends on Facebook and Twitter, and Archie is at the smartboard.
Thanks, Doreen. Here's our question this evening asking, what's your reaction to the Indicom report alleging that the police plant guns at crime scenes? Here's our first comment. This person says, obviously, Indicom is trying to make the police force an enemy with all they have been doing. Take a look at these comments of people who don't know anything. Get rid of them so the real crime fighters can focus on trying to tackle crime. Second comment, I was expecting something like this from Indicom because of the defeat they had suffered in the court against the JCF. They will do anything to make the police force look bad. This person says, some of the police are not better than these gunmen. They are the gunmen. Something serious should be put in place to solve crime, like start putting soldiers on police duty. This person says, definitely not a surprising assumption. Most of the police force seems to be corrupt. This stems from corruption in the government and all its agencies. And here's our final comment for this section of the feedback comments. It says, so because them are police, them can't do nothing wrong. Listen, the uniform don't make the man a thief can dress up as police. That don't mean number one. They're planting guns long time. Keep your comments coming on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/